While much of iRacing is down in Florida tackling Sebring right now, it's hard to pull the vintage fans away from their toys for very long. So, the dedicated remain here with us in VIR. Which of them will it reward with a win? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 2 of the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legends Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Roush Racing driver Joey Atterbury. Behind the scenes is our director Daniel Costello, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Virginia International Raceway not only got revived back in 2000, but it's since been revamped and built up into a gorgeous facility. Let's take a closer look at it with our track guide. Welcome to Virginia International Raceway. Only a short trip away from the state's border with North Carolina, this track has had the rare blessing of being resurrected from the dead. After closing for a quarter century, once it was rebuilt, it quickly began to draw major sports car series to its halls. The new owners didn't skimp on refurbishing the place either. An impressive 5 versions are available on iRacing with a range between 1 and 4 miles in length between them. With that much pavement, the plethora of corners have earned some colorful nicknames. The horseshoe kicks things off right away with a never-ending double apexer that tends to suck the greedy out into its runoff. Later on, the climbing S's force you to thread the needle before spitting you out into the steep drop at South Bend. Then, of course, there's Oak Tree, which sadly no longer sees its namesake landmark on the inside of the turn, but still retains its frustrating difficulty. Let's not forget one of the scariest obstacles at the end of the lap, the roller coaster. The incredible speed drivers carry up into this blind braking zone is what causes it to require such immense bravery to get the most out of the lap. While passing can be tricky here, the long backstretch nicknamed Madison Avenue and the lengthy front stretch do tend to offer enough of a draft that you can still give a go at a pass. Still, track position is usually an important factor in most races. With the picturesque backdrop of the Appalachians around them, fans are not left wanting when they come to watch drivers face off at this historic track. It's no wonder the circuit has found success in its second chance at life. Well, this place has been seeing a little bit more use now that it is part of the base content here on iRacing. And as such, Joey, they've elected to use it here in Lotus 49s.
It is one of my favorite racetracks in North America. Reminds me a lot when I was living in Virginia, getting out here every weekend. But VIR, 20 turns, 3.27 miles in length. And when I think of this place, I think it is fast and flowing. A couple big passing opportunities. Turn number 1 down there, also known as Horseshoe. That's a good braking opportunity. Also, on the other end of the track map, Oak Tree is a good one. And then going into Roller Coaster off of the back straightaway, those are your 3 big passing opportunities here at VIR. But some of the most notable corners, the climbing S's, it is one of the fastest sections on this racetrack. And with these cars having no downforce, they are literally going to be jumping through that section. And then up to the top of South Bend, one of the tallest places here at VIR, also known as Turn 10, and then the dip down into Oak Tree. Unfortunately, we don't have Oak Tree anymore, so it is that brand new updated version with the extra runoff on all of these exit curbs. But when I think of VIR, like I said, fast, flowing, and when there's wrecks here, Joe, they tend to be big ones.
Exactly, and I've definitely had a few big ones back in my time driving the 49s at this place, but these drivers will be circulating around here for 19 laps to try and take the win today in this second round of the championship. Open setups. Some of the gearing will be important, but I think more importantly is the differential, trying to get the car steering well through some of these turns. You'll see drivers try and fiddle with that to get some speed and some comfort in it. No spare car if you do wind up going off, like Joey said, and finding the wall. So you're going to have to either get it repaired or just park it for the rest of the day if you don't have enough time. Drive-through penalty at 17 incidents and a DQ at 25. Despite the extra runoff, it is still mostly grass to the outside of the corner, so you won't see them abuse that too much. A lot of drivers out here getting ready to set their first lap times, including Audrius Valenteus is back. Here is a driver, Joey, that when he shows up, he is hard to beat.
He also carries that number 1 board, the highest I rating in the field, over 9,000 for Andreas out there. So always have to keep an eye on him, especially here in qualifying. Like you were saying, Joe, he wasn't at round number 1, but here at VIR, he has showed up.
Definitely some heavy hitters here in spite of the 12 hours of Sebring going on right now. We've got Togo Hisada in, as always. Seb Tixier is in here. And I saw Nicola Kaki signed into this one, so we should see some good competition for Andreas. And you are not kidding about them needing to almost jump over the climbing S's. You could see him bounding over those curbs.
And it is such a cool section of racetrack. Really, you have to attack everywhere here at VIR, and this is that oak tree corner. You really just got to slow it down and tiptoe through there, but then use all of that exit curb and then rocket onto this back straightaway. And trust me, this back straightaway goes on for a while. It goes up and down a couple times.
It's been nicknamed Madison Avenue, and as he comes up into braking, Andreas going to try and slow it up into the roller coaster. Definitely going to be very difficult in this car that does not like curved braking zones. So far, he's managing it well. This is his first timed lap. He should have plenty for a second one, but let's see what he can do to try and match Nieva, who holds the provisional pole at a 44.711.
See here, start-finish line is way down at the end of 44.4. So yes, that does put the number 1 car straight to the top. And guess what? He still has another lap to go.
About a quarter of a second faster than Nieva right now. Between Jorge and Seb, it is very close. And Hisada down in 4th, interestingly. He had failed to win up against Seb last time out at his home track there at Okayama. So he's going to have to try and fight back on not just him, but some other competitors here today as we see him get ready to complete his second lap. I am showing him improving by a couple tenths right now, but he's 7 tenths off the pole position. So I don't think this is going to be number 1 next to his name. And no, 44.9, in fact, is not going to put him higher than 4th.
I always enjoy watching Togo Hisada kind of adapt through the races. I have a feeling it's going to be one of those types of days for him. Seb Tixier, 44.4, slides up onto the front row, and then Jorge Nieva is now coming down the front straightaway. He is tracking to the good as well. Let's see what he puts down. It is going to be a 44. I'm sorry, no, that lap doesn't count.
Oh, must have just tipped a wheel off somewhere out there, and only 3rd for him to start at best. Seb and Andreas, though, separated by half a hundredth or half a tenth of a second, rather, are going to be at each other's throats, no doubt, all race long. We'll see if they can manage to stay close to one another, or if Andreas will be able to run away again. Or is he going to be able to separate himself here on this second lap? Seemed like a number of drivers able to improve on that next time by. He'll cross. Yes, he does. 44.2. Andreas showing he's still got some left in his pocket.
And I'd be a little bit worried. Most of those other cars, they picked up a little bit more than what Andreas did on that second lap. So I have a feeling if we're looking for that overall pace, Valenteus might still have a couple cards in the pocket.
Not a name that I think we've seen here before, Naomi Sato. And that the number 12 machine is not going to take a second lap, unfortunately, spinning out over South Bend. I wouldn't feel too ashamed about that one, as that is always a tricky corner to get right. He's going to at least pull it around and try to complete the lap.
And looking through everything else, we got about 30 seconds here on the board. So I'll be curious to see if Naomi's able to get across start-finish. Judging where they are on the back straightaway, I just don't think it's going to be possible.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter even if he is trying to finish this lap. Looks like he's going to be just short, as Kurt Clapper, as usual, is not going to set a time. And that is everybody able to put one down from here. We've got maybe about half a dozen drivers who have failed to set a time. That means that our grid is set for round 2 of the Grand Prix Legends Series, and it sees Andreas Valenteus on the pole position. Seb Tixier going to be starting next to him, trying to keep him honest, with Jorge Nieva sitting in behind them, and Togo Hisada starting from 4th. Leo Sequeiro will be P5. Then you've got Bill Tyler starting 6th today. John Olsen starts 7th, and Laust Olsen will start 8th. No relation as usual between them. They always seem to wind up next to each other. Kevin Verbruggen will start in 9th. Outside of row 5, it sees Gary Ho in 10th.
Then in 11th, we have Pedro Temaladri. Bjorn Ackerman lined up in 12th. David Rossi in 13th. Glenn Becker lined up 14th. Rolly Wallbank in the number 32 will start in 15th. Bob Woodhouse in 16th. Roberto Pengrazzi starting 17th. Eli Vorga and Costa in 18th. Matthew Maudsley 19th. And Marco Antonio Lopez and Salgado in 20th.
Misato's lone lap good enough for 21st as Cam Porter starts P22. Tomoki Garushi will be 23rd. Then you've got Michael Grissinger in 24th today, followed by Jan Steffen in 25th. Tim Yonk starting to his outside in 26th. Doug Cloud starts 27th today as Alan Graham will be 28th and Dave Cohen at 29th. Maxon Obenauer will be 30th.
Will Lamb back here in 31st. Robert Plumley in 32nd. Matthew Nelson starts 33rd. Andres Bruno in 34th. Tim Porter back here in 35th. David Tomaski in 36th. JDS all the way back in 37th. Jose Conda in 38th. Kurt Clapper 39th. Mats Linden 40th. And then the 41st car, Thomas Willershausen.
We've seen Togo Hisada take a couple of championships now, 3 to his name. So I wonder if we're starting to see some of his Japanese friends show up more and more from our names as it looks like the lights are up. The engines start to rev, and the green flag is out. Here comes Seb Tixier. Oh, no, he spins the tires in the second phase, and Nieva is going to take advantage. In fact, Nieva's got a very good start. Looking around the outside of Valenteus, they almost bang wheels. He starts to fall back a little bit as the rest of them cycle through the horseshoe.
And Seb Tixier almost got up there into the side of Nieva, now has to slot back into the third place position, so it's all Andreas out front. And then we've got Nieva there in the second place, Tixier giving chase, Togo Hisada into fourth as they go through the lower S's for the first time.
See 2 cars off in the very, very far background, but otherwise looks like we're able to get through. Verbruggen fighting up in these top 10, trying to stay ahead of Gary Ho as they head towards the climbing S's. Matthew Maudsley back here out of the snake and under the bridge. Look at all these cars side by side in the climbing S's. Not a good idea. Here we go.
This is my favorite section of the racetrack. Just look at them go back left, right, as they go up the hill, now to turn 10 and back down into this little compression section. Oh no, I believe that's Cam Porter losing a few positions.
And also Matthew Nelson kind of got shoved off course as we go side by side now through the oak tree and onto Madison Avenue. Still, they are fighting hard for position here in the mid-pack and trying to put themselves into the slipstream. Looks like Porter's got a run on Maxon as they come up into the braking for the roller coaster. Max is going to be deeper on the binders and hold on to that 22nd place.
Oh, and there's a car parked. That was Matthew Maudsley right there at the top. A roller coaster just missed the brake point on the first lap. So we've had a few drivers go into the grass. Some of them find the wall, but only 2 of them haven't survived the first lap.
That's Nelson and Maudsley, unfortunately, both in the pit lane now. Everybody else is still rolling, and Valenteus leads the first lap. Nieva up into second, Hisada third. Tixier with his poor start all the way down to fourth. I think we may have had a problem for Bjorn Ackerman and maybe Pengrazzi as well as they slip down the order.
Yeah, I can report that Bjorn Ackerman had a huge accident down in turn 1, going tumbling head over heels there. So ended up resting on his helmet, so he's going to have to hit that repair button. Laust Olsen up here having a good start to his race, kind of hanging out in the 8th place position, but most importantly is still on the back of that lead group.
Riding on board with him now, looking backwards at Verbruggen, but in front of him, he's got Bill Tyler within range. He could try and attack. Look at how close they are coming up to Oak Tree. If he gets a good launch, we could see something at a roller coaster.
It is all about getting that exit, but look at the number 7. Bill Tyler did an excellent job getting out of Oak Tree, but this straightaway is long enough that Laust Olsen can use the draft back here. So we watch Seb Tixier slowly start to close it in. He's going to try to make a move on Togo Hisada side by side into roller coaster.
Oh, Seb goes a little bit deep. That means he's going to slide out, open the door for Hisada. No, he cannot quite get through. He slots in line just behind the number 8 as the Singapore driver now has to set his sights forward to Nieva and Valenteus. This has worked out well for the number 1. He has about 3/4 of a second ahead of P2.
Watch him go down the front straightaway here, just kind of following in each other's tire tracks. Togo Hisada makes another look down to the inside, and Tixier gives him some room at apex. This is going to allow Togo a nice drive off of the corner, but it's still side by side, and now Tixier is going to have the advantage as turn 3 bends back around to the left, and same thing with the next set of corners, but Hisada hanging tough through the slow stuff.
Oh, and he finally has to give up the ghost. He backs off, but this could set him up. A little bit offline for Tixier down to the left hook. And they come into the snake. No, he's going to hold on to it for the time being. All this messing around, you see behind them, that is Leo Sequeiro in the number 6 that is starting to get ever closer to the pair of them.
Well, not only Leo is closing it in, but several drivers, and look what's happening in front of him. Jorge Nieva is running away. He's attached to Valenteus up at the front, so if we still see scrapping from Tixier and Hisada, it's just slowing those two down.
A little wide there for Tixier once again. Togo keeps getting little peeks and pokes on trying to take this spot away, but nothing seems to stick so far. They'll pick up speed, and while these cars are not known for being as quick around the corners as some modern F1 cars, in a straight line they're up to nearly 190 miles an hour down this straight.
Little itty-bitty car, real big engine in the thing, and that makes a combination that goes real fast down the straightaways. And here's Jack David Spickett on that back straightaway. Remember, he was all the way at the back of the grid to start this one. Oh, he's going to have to deal with the car spinning out right in front of him, so just move him up another spot into 16th. I see plus 21 gained for JDS.
So Pangrazi slips off course, and we could see back in the background that Obenauer also went off. I think that may have been a bit of target fixation as Tixier versus Hisada erupts once again down into the horseshoe. Looking to the inside this time into NASCAR Ben. No dice for Togo Hisada. He still stays glued to that gearbox.
So I'm going to speculate a little bit here, Joe. These two are always in the midst of a fight for a championship when it comes down to the end of the season. You think maybe the elbows are already coming out because they know that's what it's going to come down to again?
I suspect. And if you ask me, from what I know of these two, I don't think it's championship. I think it's just they have fun with one another. They've raced against each other so much. They know what they can do. They know that they have respect for each other. So they're going to take it right up to the edge.
I think, I totally agree with you. And just, you're right, knowing those two, they love to race. And they love to race with each other because guess what? They're clean and they're fast. And that's when it's the best type of racing.
Will Lamb, in the meantime, down here in 21st. A gate of 10. Obenauer also managed to move up 10, which is impressive considering he went off track last time. Well, he's going to go off track again. This time he doesn't survive. He absolutely plowed into the wall at Oak Tree. There's his nose still sitting on the course. He limps it back. And I was going to say, well, there goes the wheel. So he's done.
It's never good when you're watching the wheel outrun your car on the racetrack. I've been there before, Joe. It's not a good feeling, trust me.
Imagine it's a little bit terrifying in real life, but we go back to Alan Graham in 24th. This is with Doug Cloud. Quite a train starting to form, and Doug is at the front of it currently, holding them back. We've also got Dave Cohen in here, Andre Bruno, and Jose Conde.
About 5 cars involved in that train, and then we have another little mini train right behind, and that one's led by Tim Porter. He's got his buddies Kirk Clapper, Mats Linden, Glenn Becker all joining this party. So even if you're a little bit further back, there's plenty of racing going on. And really here at VIR, I feel like this racetrack just kind of suits some back and forth. So here we go, the 27 looking to the inside here, trying to poke the nose, but some good respectful racing going on.
And that's Doug Cloud in front of them. He's slow off the corner. I suspect he may have had a bit of a spin or something up there. He falls down to 28th. Will he be susceptible to them? A little wide there from Mats Linden. and he is not going to get overtaken by Glenn Becker. But now we watch Kurt Clapper sitting behind
Jorge
Timothy
Nieva
Porter.
Just had a problem. I'm sorry to interrupt, but down at Oak Tree or something happened. Our second place runner definitely just had an off, and now he's all the way back down into fifth.
That is strange. I'm checking to see if I can find if he went off, and it doesn't look like it. He just pulls off and slows down. I wonder if he had a slowdown penalty.
And this has got to be a slowdown penalty. And remember what happened last week on the opening round at Okayama? Jorge Nieva shortcut on the opening lap. He got a slowdown penalty and it essentially ruined his race. Oh, man, deja vu.
Just got to watch out for those track limits. It's not just the incident points you need to worry about up there. Togo Hisada is more worried about what is now a battle for P2. Instead, looking around the outside of the horseshoe still doesn't pay off. But the more fun they have with one another, the more Audrius is running away. It's now up to 3 seconds ahead of them.
I think really what the story of this race is going to be is, can Jorge Nieva reel in these two cars that we're watching? Because Tixier and Hisada have been locked in this battle. We're not even halfway through this one. I don't see this battle going anywhere. We're going to see if that number 2 can recover.
Both of them are on 3 championships apiece. Who can reach 4 first? Is Kurt Clapper back in the action against Glenn Becker, looking to the long way around of the horseshoe. Glenn Becker says no, not now, and sets his sights back on Timothy Porter once again. A crowd favorite with the Netscape liveried car.
I do love it. And now we're getting the shots of Tim Porter here with that concentration in this 5-car battle. And I mentioned it going over the track map. I just love this place. From the lower S's, how it feeds out into this high-speed upper S section. This place is fast. It's technical in other areas. It just offers a little bit of everything. And in these 49s, look at them jump through this climbing S section.
Certainly one of the unique things about this car. Not many cars do get air in modern racing, but in the old times, you could see them take a bit of a leap 4 wheels off the ground. If Tim's face looks a little bit familiar, that's because he's the brother of Cam Porter, whose face we see all the time. Every once in a while, Tim will join us, as there is Cam currently running in 19th. A little bit higher, a little bit more bragging rights over his brother right now.
And there is Cam Porter. Like you said, running up there in 19th place. He's currently chasing down the number 25 of Ancosta right in front of him. But Cam's having a good race, up 3 from where he started and just logging in the laps right now, doing a 146.9. And I compare that to all the cars around him. There's a few in front of him that are a little bit slower, but I can report everybody behind him is, in fact, slower. So Cam Porter moving forward in this race.
I'm sure he'd appreciate a good finish. He's had a bit of bad luck lately, it feels like. So we should see him try and push forward, see if he can get a few spots as we come back to Seb Tixier once again, with Togo Hisada still right behind him, almost in front of him as he tries to go underneath down through Oak Tree. He's awful close off the corner as well. Is this going to be enough of a draft?
I think he's definitely close enough. Oh, nice. We're getting the onboard shots from Tixier. Watch that steering in the brake pedal as Togo Hisada goes to the driver's left side. Tixier can still defend as it's the inside going into roller coaster. He does get the car stopped, so we know Seb is so comfortable on the brakes on this car. Really good defense right there.
I love how you can see the H pattern as well as he slams through the gears and coming off of Hog Pen. Is it going to be a better exit? Yeah, he looks like he is relatively safe this time over his Japanese competitor, and just getting close to about the halfway mark of this race as well.
You know what I'm seeing when we look at Seb driving with that H pattern? Joe, maybe you can describe this a little bit more, the box of neutrals, but look at how gentle he is on those upshifts. He is not slamming the gears whatsoever.
Yeah, you have to be particular about them. It's not the worst gearbox. I think that goes to the Audi GTO here on iRacing, but you can miss a gear for sure if you don't time it right. It can be a little finicky, although it's not too bad. Back to David Rossi. We haven't talked about him in a minute, and now we've got a good chance to, because he's fighting with Tim Aladri as well as Spickett.
Yeah, I think that Temaladri has got a couple of really, really fast cars right behind him. So the first one, Rossi and JDS, remember, he has just been moving up through the field. I can report up 24, and he is going to take a look down to the inside of Rossi, and Rossi just lifts out of that one. He says, I don't want to go too wide through this section. That is not a smart move for me.
Now, Jack said in the text chat before this race started, planning on going for SR this race. That doesn't look like a driver aiming for safety rating to me.
Well, now, isn't the more passes, the better for your safety rating? So, hey, as long as he does it clean, keep on keeping on.
Oh, side by side for P2 once again into the roller coaster. This time, Hisada might just have the advantage. It's going to be a left flick down at a hog pen, but it switches back right for this turn. He's holding on tough. Seb cannot get the grunt until the exit of the very last bend. Now it is a drag race down to the first corner once again. Who is the braver on the binders?
You have to have respect to go through hog pen side by side, and it looks like it's going to be Tixier that will defend one more time. Togo Asada now with the over-under, but it puts him on the wrong side of the racetrack going into turn number 3. Let's see if he can slide down to the inside. No, he just admits defeat on this time around, but that has brought in Nieva, so now it's gone from 2 cars battling for second to 3.
I don't think there is any concern about the win here. I think this is all about beating each other because they continue to just bleed time to Valenteu. So we don't know if he intends to try and be here for the full championship or not. And often in the past, well, all the time in the past, he has not shown up at enough rounds to try and go for it. Look at him. He is just on his own up here. There's nobody within camera shot.
And to let everybody know, the lap times that Andreas is putting down is about a half second faster than this second group. Now, I know that they are battling, side by side, but just when we look at overall pace, Valenteu's clearly the fastest car on the track.
And you were asking whether or not Nieva can catch them. Them going back and forth like that means that he's now within about half a second himself. So it could become a 3-car battle, even potentially 4 if Leo back there in the number 6 can gain enough as we check in behind them on John Olsen, Bill Tyler, and Laust Olsen.
I think it goes all the way back to Laust Olsen, really, Joe. I know that there's a little bit of a bigger gap behind Leo, behind John, but it's only about 1 second. So each of these drivers right here, they can see all the way up to Seb Tixier in second place, especially down these straightaways. They've got that carrot dangling out in front of them, and those are all points, valuable championship points on the end of the line.
Yeah, essentially, it is only 3 to 4 seconds between P2 and P8 right now. So you're right. It is still very tight at the front of the field, even if our leader is running away. Laust Olsen thinking about things coming through NASCAR Bend. Thought I saw a puff of smoke off to the side of the track. Not sure what that's about.
I think Jack David Spickett might have had a little bit of a problem, so that SR coming into factor now, and I think it was just a little bit of a lockup going into turn 1. I didn't see him spin at all, but definitely lost about 2 or 3 positions on the track.
Those that are not on iRacing are wondering what we're talking about. Safety rating is calculated by incidents per corner, or corners per incident, I guess you could say. So every off track, every spin, every car contact counts as a certain number of incident points. And, well, Jack just went off track, so that adds to his safety rating. Suddenly saw cars flying down the order. Not sure. Oh, I think that was maybe just a bit of...
Smokes, Joe. Togo Hisada in Oak Tree here on lap number 10. I don't know how he saved this unless he's got another career in Formula Drift. I mean, he had the outside wheel in the dirt, full opposite lock on the brakes, and somehow managed to save it.
I mean, that's not the first time we've seen him do stuff like that. Is now David Rossi going to go side by side. This is up into the roller coaster, fighting hard, almost making contact with Temaladri. He is going to hold him off. That checks them up behind, and Salgado has to fend off Jack David Spickett, who we know just lost a couple positions himself.
As we jump up now, this is Bill Tyler getting around Laust Olsen here for the 7th place, and I should kind of flip-flop that around. It's Laust trying to make a move on Bill Tyler. Bill is the one defending right now, so Laust sees that group kind of running away a little bit up front and wants to keep up with them, says that Bill is holding them up.
Looks like we've got a replay here. I hope this is Togo's slide. Looks like this is actually going to be Tim Yonk. So this might be some of the smoke that I had seen earlier. In fact, I think we caught the tail end of whatever happened here because they were side by side. Oh, there's a car returning. Oh, and just a little bit of a clumsy return.
And you got to feel for Tim because he hit the brakes, avoided, and then it was the second part that he got contact on. Just, that's a little bit of a hand on the forehead moment.
Always got to watch out for your rivals when returning to the track. Make a safe rejoin. Even though there's nobody physically in danger, it's still going to anger a few people. JDS versus Rossi. Cuts back underneath him coming off of Oak Tree. Beautiful move here. He's got better momentum, and he's already pulling ahead. We're not even halfway up the straight.
And he's easily going to be able to clear him because he's got the pull from the draft, the car in front of him. That's Temaladri. And, oh, check this out. David Rossi is going to get aggressive into the brake zone. He said, hey, I'm going to think about it at least. Put you on your late braking mark. Force you to complete this pass.
And he did complete it in the end, so that will move JDS back up to 12th. Temaladri still within sight. Down with Cam Porter. This is and Costa just in front of him. Battle for P18 through the last part of the track. Huge drop in elevation here down to Hogpen, and then you climb back up the hill towards the start-finish line.
I mention it all the time. At VIR, they have those awesome big wheel races that start up at Roller Coaster and go all the way down through Hogpen. That is how steep that hill is. And really, Joe, these cars, they're not too far off of what a big wheel really is.
Ooh, almost an opportunity here as JDS versus Temaladri is going to go in favor of Jack. In fact, Rossi, look at that smooth move, just managing to take advantage once that car was offline. He'll pick up 12th as Jack goes up to 11th.
Now, but look at Temaladri looking at the inside. Rossi says, nope, not this time. I am going to take the line up through the S's as Jack David Spickett scampers off through turn 10, tries to leave them all in the dust.
I think Nieva had another slowdown penalty because he gave way to Hisada on the back straight once again. Very strange goings on with Jorge Nieva. I'm not sure what line he's taking where, but it seems to be costing him.
So I tried to go back and take a look at the first one, and what I think is happening here, Joe, is that these cars, they don't make any downforce, and the tires don't stick the car down to the road through the S's, and I just think the drivers are pushing the apex limits through these S sections, whether it be the lower S's or the climbing S's, and if you cut them a little bit too much, I have a feeling that's where it's coming from.
That seems the most likely for sure, and it pushes him back down to 4th. Togo has to play catch-up on Tixier now, who's got about a second and a half on him currently, but we're down to only 7 laps to go, so he hasn't got much time to try and do it.
Jumping back to this battle between Marco Antonio Lopez Salgado, Temaladri, Bob Woodhouse. This is just the battle that keeps on giving, and I see also the number 12 car, that's Sato, joining the party as well, and looks like Salgado is trying to slide to the inside there of turn number 3, which you can do, but you got to be careful. It can leave you vulnerable here in this slow section. The real technical section here at VIR, it feels like you're just tiptoeing through here before you finally get to stand on it through the S's.
Ooh, Jose down in 25th, fighting with Glenn Becker into the first turn. Can't quite make it stick. Becker will hold on to that 24th place. Andre Bruno, very shallow into the corner. He talked about trying not to make yourself vulnerable in there. He's trying as best he can to cover off any moves.
Now, this is Dave Cohen on the screen. I believe he might have had just a problem here back at turn number 1. Didn't see any sort of incident at all, but one thing that has been standing out to me, Joe, is that these drivers are pushing it really, really deep on the brakes, whether it's turn 1 or Oak Tree. We've seen several drivers either lock up or just simply drive it off the track.
Yeah, and it's not due to hot weather. It's only about 81 Fahrenheit on the track surface right now. The one thing that does stick out to me, other than, of course, the wind being so high today, is it's very hazy. It's 88% humidity here.
Well, I mean, that's pretty typical of VIR. I can post selfies on pre-grid where I feel like it's 1,000,000% humidity and just the hair is sticking out every direction. But I think the other reason why we see all these cars really charging it into the brake zone, Joe, you said it earlier, the top speed on these things is unreal around this place.
This continues to be a hot one here. Tomaski, Becker, Bruno, and Condi. In fact, actually, David up at the front of it is a lap down. So let's see if he pulls out of the way for them and tries not to become a part of the battle. He's off to the side as he's caught by Glenn Becker. Oh, miscommunication. Glenn wanted the inside. David thought he was going to give him the outside, and he's still trying to get him the outside as they come together. In fact, that'll trickle back into Bruno, who gets collected by Jose.
Yeah, just a little bit of kind of tripping over each other out there, and it can happen. You know, you're kind of wondering, hey, where are you going? And you guess at the wrong place. And this is another car that just had a problem. This is Mats Linden a little bit further back. He had a problem through the hogpin section, the turn 16, 17 final couple corners.
You know, you were talking about how this isn't as popular of a track here on iRacing. I've always kind of felt like this is such a tough track to race that I wonder if that's why it's not used nearly as much by some, just because it's so hard to get right, as Timoladri is not worried about the difficulties, almost gets his nose in down through roller coaster.
And to kind of expand on that, Joe, I think anytime you put yourself in one of these Lotus 49 machines, it's going to be a difficult race, right? But VIR is just so fast. You don't have any downforce whatsoever, and you really have to be early on the brakes. And here we go. Bob Woodhouse is now going to be taking a look down the inside of Salgado, see if he is able to stop this car soon enough. So, yes, everybody hits their brake marker through that section. Bob Woodhouse, though, slides up into 14th.
Indeed. Bob with the most 60s NASCAR name I think I've seen in some time. Through NASCAR Bend, misses the apex a little bit there, but thankfully doesn't lose the position up to that P14. He's got Timoladri and Rossi in front of him with 5 laps left to go. And did Nieva go by Hisada again? I think he just did, yeah. So there was a change for the podium once again.
I think that Nieva consistently is one of the fastest cars on the racetrack. I mean, look at him in comparison to Valenteus. Nieva currently holds that fast lap, so it could be Valenteus maybe cooling off the tires, saving it for a little bit of a sprint at the end, but this is going to be another what-if race for Jorge Nieva.
I went back and checked, and it was Togo Hisada going off at Oak Tree again, and still living to tell the tale twice now, sliding a little bit wide and managing not to hit the wall. We might actually have a replay of this one. Indeed, 2 wheels off into the grass, then 4 wheels on the exit, and Nieva says, "Thank you very much. Easiest pass I've had all day."
And that was further off at Oak Tree than his previous one, and actually now they're side by side, so I didn't see this coming, but evidently Togo got a nice run down the front straightaway and wants to battle for this podium, and here he's going to slide down to the inside, but back out of it at the last second going into turn 4.
You know, in the past we've talked about how Togo's a very smart driver, and he usually is very cerebral considering how young he is, but at the same time, I think he enjoys a good fight. So, yeah, as soon as he sees an opportunity, he pounces. He knows when to be aggressive, but that's what makes him so fun to watch.
I love watching these really fast cars up through those S's, Joe. Like when you have multiple cars in the train on the racing line, right, and they're hooking it into these corners, jumping over the apexes, it is just so cool to watch.
Certainly makes for spectacular visuals. Definitely, to me, one of the neatest cars that they've got on iRacing, but I'm biased, of course. And Jorge Nieva is continuing to be hounded by Togo Hisada up Madison Avenue. Coming into the roller coaster, he's got a good run. Jorge breaks early. Togo capitalizes. He moves back onto the podium.
I think that was smart out of Nieva. I know that we're running out of laps here, but we know these two are pretty equal on pace. I said that Nieva is potentially one of the fastest cars out here, so he should have no problem getting on the back of Togo Hysata now and going back and forth in this battle.
It does seem like at the end of that straightaway, the slipstream gets to be pretty powerful as drivers really start to catch up once they get it towards full tilts down the front straight. Not quite close enough this time. As we check back in with Tim Aladri once more, fighting with David Rossi at the front of this 4-car train.
Headed down from roller coaster into the lowest section into hog pen right here. Let that compression really grip up the car. Got to go charging in there and just hope you come out the other side. And looks like all of them kind of equal distant down the long bending front straightaway here at VIR, up to 180 miles an hour before you stand on the brakes.
And for Rossi, he's better on the brakes this time compared to Tim Aladri, who's not able to take the position. Salgado in behind this trio, patiently waiting and watching to see what's going to erupt in front of them. They've lost touch with Jack David Spickett, who we saw in there briefly. He's absolutely run away from them.
Can report to you, looks like Nieva is going to be going by Togo Hysata on the back straightaway here. It's just kind of flip-flopping between the two, Joe. Just one lap, it's Togo passing Nieva. The next, it's Nieva passing Hysata. So here we go. Nieva's got the right side, driver's right side going into roller coaster, but they stay side by side. It looks like Hysata's going to defend the long way around.
Wow. And while Nieva maybe was a bit more polite coming into the braking the last time, Togo's not going to return the favor. He's going to make him work for it. Jan Stephen just in front of them, about to be lapped. Last time we had this situation, it caused a bit of an accident. Jan has plenty of experience. He's going to pull off to the side and let them through without incident.
Look at how close Nieva gets to the back gearbox there of Togo Hysata. These two just locked next to each other. And I have a feeling it will be settled. Well, I know it'll be settled here in the next lap and a half.
Exactly. Oh, as he gets down to the apex a little bit better, looking into the left hook. We sometimes see sneak attacks into there. Jorge tries one, doesn't quite work out. He's balked on the exit. Coming into the snake as Hysata covers him off.
Oh, and he's going to get checked up there again, just the gearing and when you have to shift.
Oh.
And now Togo Hysata lets Nieva by. Is this a slowdown for Hysata? It certainly looks like it.
I'm checking back real quick on my screen to see if he just cut a little too far in one of these corners. If he did, it must have been extremely marginal because it didn't look like it was too far, but that has cost him. Nieva's now got a gap of about half a second here. No, a full second over his rival with just barely a lap to go.
And yeah, Joe, I'm with you. I think if anything, I believe it came from the apex of turn number 5. He had all of the body of the car in the grass with just the wheels on the apex curb. So if there was a slowdown, I have a feeling it came from there.
Well, I think Seb Tixier was trying his best to catch Valenteus, and some of it may have been the traffic because you can see here he's amongst it as he takes the white flag for the one to go. Tixier's cut it down to less than 6 seconds up in front of him. So Seb is, in fact, he's got a faster best lap than that number 1 car. So he's been pushing, he just didn't have enough.
I'm surprised because the last purple lap I saw was Nieva, but that was maybe 6-8 laps ago. And you're right that Tixier has gone ahead and snatched that back. And in fact, I just saw on timing and scoring, it looks like Nieva and Hysata just swapped around again.
You're right. So Hysata in front of them. My goodness, this has been one of the wildest battles we've seen in some time. And this time it's because Nieva outbraked himself into the first turn. I mentioned that wind, I mean, it's not light. It's still at 14 miles an hour. So I wonder if it's pushing the cars around just a little bit into the braking zones.
Yeah, and I just couple it. I keep saying how fast this place is. It's 180 miles an hour going into turn number 1. And that's not even the fastest section on the racetrack. It is right here, the back straightaway, which our leader, Andreas Valenteus, is on right now. Just a few more corners remain.
Getting word that he's been holding it at that 5-second gap for some time, so he might just be managing things here at the end of the race. In fact, not making much attempt to try and get by Andre Bruno, who's making more of an attempt to let him through. That does hold him up. And thankfully, he did have that big gap down to Seb Tixier to fall back on as he comes out of Hogpen. Valenteus going to take yet another win in the Grand Prix Legends Series with a healthy margin here at VIR. But Seb Tixier will come out ahead of Togo Hisada in what has become quite the rivalry, although Hisada's fight today was definitely with Nieva as he'll beat him to the podium.
Looks like Tixier will snag that fast lap, too, with a 44.1. And this is Temaladri still fighting back here. Jack David Spigot, David Rossi, Salgado. Oh, and the 17 locks it up. He's going to lose several.
I thought he was sending it a little hot there. Thankfully, kept it on the track. Rossi's going to get a spot. Salgado will get a spot, and Woodhouse right at the very end. So 12th, 13th, and 14th for each of them.
I also see Glenn Becker making a move in that number 20 on Ancosta on the back straightaway. Oh, pushing a little bit of a squeeze move going into roller coaster here, and now Becker's way out in the grass. It's not going to work out.
Oof, Ancosta's probably thinking karma on that one because, yeah, he had shoved him all the way out to the grass, almost coming together. And Ancosta manages to take 22nd away from Glenn. Only 25 cars going to wind up on the lead lap of this one. Well, they might be having fun down at Sebring, but I'd say we had fun here today. And it's not done yet because we'll have the unofficial results as well as driver interviews coming your way shortly after this break. Welcome back to Virginia International Raceway. Round 2 of the Grand Prix Legends Series sees Adrius Valenteus take the victory. It was about 6 seconds over Seb Tixier, who was stuck in a fight early on, and that cost him quite a bit of the time. Couldn't catch up to him by the end of the race. He'll still take a valuable second in the points. With Togo Hisada just back and forth the entire latter half of the race to try and decide the final step of the podium, and that was with Jorge Nieva, who came out vanquished, unfortunately, getting a 4th. Leo Sequeiro couldn't keep up with him. He was 5th today as John Olsen finished P6, and then Bill Tyler 7th. Laust Olsen was 8th before you finally get to another little gap there down to Laust and Verbruggen, who finished 9th, and Gary Ho rounds out your top 10.
Then in 11th, we have our biggest mover of the day, up 26 positions, is Jack David Spickett. And remember, he had a couple off, so I have a feeling he might have been able to go up even further than that. David Rossi will finish 12th. He was locked in that battle, that 4 or 5 car battle. Marco Antonio Lopez Salgado to finish 13th. Bob Woodhouse in 14th. Pedro Temaladri in 15th. Naomi Sato finishing 16th. Rolly Wallbank in 17th, Will Lamb 18th, Roberto Pingrazzi 19th, and Cam Porter finishes 20th.
21st goes to Robert Plumley as Eloy Acosta finishes 22nd. Glenn Becker will be in 23rd. Jose Conde will be in the 24th spot as Alan Graham finishes 25th. Last one on the lead lap. Then you've got Andre Bruno in 26th. Tim Porter finishes in 27th, and Tomoki Gurushi was 28th. Dave Cohen, 29th today, and Kurt Clapper didn't gain as many as we usually see from him. He'll finish 30th.
Then across the pages, Mats Linden here in 31st, Jan Steffen in 32nd, Thomas Willershausen in 33rd. Unfortunately, Tim Yonk did not see the checkered flag. There's a couple more back here. Michael Grissinger, David Tomoski, unfortunately did not see it either. However, looks like Matthew Maudsley got back out on the racetrack. Same with Matthew Nelson. They saw the checkered flag. Unfortunately, Doug Cloud, Maxon Obenauer, and Bjorn Ackerman did not.
So there is your 41 drivers taking part in this one. Second one to come home was Seb Tixier, who lost touch with Andreas and just couldn't quite catch back up to him. Seb, we saw a fierce battle between you and Togo at the beginning. I speculated that you guys were grinning ear to ear and having fun, not worrying about Andreas, but was that the case?
It was a good battle. I was a bit surprised, but pleasantly surprised, because before last season, I think Togo was not as aggressive. And now he's more aggressive on the battle, and that's great. Lot of fun. Too bad I had a bad first lap, so we couldn't keep up with Drios. We could have a battle, three car battle, maybe 4 with Jorge. But yeah, it was really good fun. And I was very sad when I saw Togo spinning in a oak tree. I think I already said several times, I think he used too much brake bias on the rear and overheat his rear tire, and because it happens several times to him to do this kind of mistake.
Yeah, we did see him go wide at Oak Tree a couple times at this race. So now you've beaten him twice at the start here, but next time's going to be interesting because it'll be Monza combined. That one's not going to be easy to get away.
Yeah, like I always say on Discord, I don't like ovals, and this is an oval. So basically, for me, the way I see oval is you roll the dice and hope that nobody going to kill you. So for me, yeah, it's going to be just try to stay alive.
And how about Jorge Nieva? We've seen him pick up the pace to where now it seems like he's legitimately a threat to you and Togo.
Yeah, last season I told him on MP that I think he had a chance to go for it, but I think he had to miss some races. It seemed that on slow track he struggled a little bit because that's where it's most difficult to keep the throttle without losing the rear on slow corner. But on fast track, Virginia is fast, and pretty sure on Monza combined he will be super fast also.
I think I'll have a good shot at it. Well, congratulations on a podium today, and best of luck rolling that dice in Italy.
I have a message for Mick. Mick, the magazine boys send their regards.
Thank you for that, Seb. Always making sure we get the McKenzie boys in here. That was our second place finisher today. I believe Joey's caught up with Togo Hisada. Let's see if he can figure out the mystery of that brake bias.
Togo Hisada back-to-back podiums, but it's not standing on the top step. How are you feeling after this one?
I'm pretty happy. Depends on today I just drove for the 72 hours just before this race, and I drove the Porsche GTP for about 5 hours already. So yeah, depends on that. Yeah, I'm really good pace and having nice battle with Steve and the Jorge and yeah, yes, it's very good result.
I have to ask you, we saw several drivers, including yourself, lock up in some of these brake zones and push it too far. Was it the wind? Was it brake bias? Was it the top speed? What was going on today?
Not sure, but for me, it is just the brake feelings. I drove the Porsche GTPs for a long time today, so just really difficult to adjust to the Lotus 49 braking feelings, especially in the battles, in the braking, in when when making a move. So that's why for me. But little bit it's very the slipstream draft is very strong, I feel. So that's a little bit helps us, the very, just breaking point is so early, and when we are taking the toll for some of the guys, so it's pretty difficult I think today. Yeah.
So I have to ask you a question about the track, because this is one of my personal favorite racetracks, and it doesn't get a lot of love on iRacing. Do you like racing at VIR? What is your opinion about this track?
Yeah, of course. Very, very old-fashioned circuit. And I love these. I love these. The green. Not the tarmac, not the street. Yeah, just really a big, elevation change. Yeah, up and down, like a roller coaster, it's pretty much with these historic cars. So I always really love to race with this track.
Well, Togo Hisada, thank you so much for coming out and racing with us. I look forward to watching you throughout the season, and congratulations on the third place finish today.
Thank you.
That was the driver of the number 3, conveniently finishing in third place for us.
Looks like the brothers are back as well. Cam Porter and Tim Porter are both going to join us here in the booth. Cam finishing 20th and Tim in 27th. Guys, we were talking about how these cars looked at this track, especially through the climbing S's there heading up to South Bend. It looked to me like the cars were actually getting 4 wheels in the air at some points. Were you feeling that inside?
Oh, it was scary. I mean, the whole thing is a technical track, and man, it was sweating just staying on the road. I collected a few X's myself, just going off the track, trying to keep stable. It is frightening. I like racing here, but man, it's scary.
It sure is. Yeah, getting the 4 wheels off the track, going through the snake there is really tricky. I tried to take it flat out in practice, unsuccessfully, had a spectacular crash. So yeah, it's important to use caution on this track. Like Togo said, lots of elevation changes and tricky corners with curve braking zones, etc.
Now, we looked at the weather forecast, and while rain obviously isn't set for these cars yet, did look like that the wind was expected to be pretty high, predicted as high as 26 miles an hour. I think we saw it at about 14 to 18. Could you guys feel it? Because obviously there's not aero on these cars, but they're also light.
Well, I didn't notice the difference. I don't know. Maybe I'm not that kind of, peak performance, but the track itself was hard enough rather than the wind is bothering me.
I don't even think about that when I'm racing. I think, like Tim, we just jump in the car and try to have some fun and have some good racing. We're not, like I said, those guys that chase every 10th of a second. We just want to get out there, have fun, have a close race with anybody on the track.
Well, I mean, we'll have the sort of Talladega style stuff with Monza combined next week. You guys going to try and get some brotherly love going, connect and see if you can slipstream each other to push towards the front?
Oh, it's going to be Thunderdome. I'm telling you, I'm showing up with a chainsaw and my hockey stick, man. We're going to dominate that for sure. We're getting top 10 at least.
Cam, you're
He doesn't have. Cam, you need more vision, bro. Let's go for podium at Monza, maybe.
All right. Well, I look forward to the spiked shoulder pads and all kinds of fun gear from you guys. So have fun out there next week, and hopefully we will get to talk to you.
Thanks, Joe.
Okay, see ya.
That was Cam and Tim Porter having a chat with us once again. We're going to wrap up today with a big thank you to the Grand Prix Legends community as a whole, and also to the team today, Daniel, Joey, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media website and merchandise store, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. Like we said, heading off to Monza Saturday, March 30th at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, but also be sure to check out our other broadcasts that we have listed here, including we've got the IMSA Vintage Series going to Circuit of the Americas at 1 p.m. Eastern. So if you can take a bit of a break away from Sebring, we've got old school IMSA coming your way. Until next time, though, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.
Yeah.